Live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
Oh, what a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
The countdown is on to the NFC Championship game. Eagles, 49ers. Of course, you can hear all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN this Sunday. Coverage begins at 2 p.m. We're going to dig deeper into the Eagles and 49ers all week, just like we've been doing on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. We'll be doing it here on Game Night, as we will talk with Bo Wulf from The Athletic coming up in less than 20 minutes from now. As always, you can join the conversation at 609-403-0973. You also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free, thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle. And one of the things that's very interesting about this game coming up is you have a situation, and we just heard it mentioned on the Sports Bash with he was talking with the 49ers beat reporter Tracy Sandler, and one of the things she brought up when Mike Gill asked was, hey, what is one of the keys for this game? And she came out and said, well, look, I think it's the tight end. And I think that's very interesting because me and Mike Gill are just talking about the fact that the Eagles haven't faced some great tight end this year. They haven't played some elite tier tight end. They've played some good ones. You know, TJ Hawkinson was in week 1, but I think most people would agree that TJ Hawkinson is not a top 5 tight end in this league. He's top 10 for sure, but I don't know if he's top 5. You know, if you're asking me who the top 5 tight ends are, it's George Kittle, it's Travis Kelce, it's Dallas Goedert, it's Darren Waller, and then, you know, the fifth one, I think, depends on how you evaluate the position. You know, Zach Ertz got injured earlier this year. Is he still in that top 5 conversation? There's a few different guys out there who are debatable for that slot, but for the Eagles, your tight ends that you face this year are TJ Hawkinson, Dalton Schultz twice, by the way, Zach Ertz early in the year before he got injured, Evan Ingram, Pat Freiermuth of the Steelers. I'm noticing a pattern here. I'm noticing a pattern that you didn't face an elite tight end this year. I genuinely believe that George Kittle is the best tight end in the NFL. I think he is the most complete, the most well-rounded. I think he is the best. Period. He does everything you need a tight end to do. He is so gifted when it comes to the nuance of the game, the little things that people don't talk about. To me, Kittle is the best. He's the best blocking tight end. He has some of the best hands of all the tight ends. He's not the elite route runner that people like Travis Kelce and Darren Waller are, but I think he's in that category. And just because the Eagles have one of the top 5 tight ends in the NFL on their own roster, to me, doesn't mean that automatically means you know how to guard the number 1 tight end. And I think that's a big part of this. I think it's a very interesting thing to watch in this game because one of the problems the Eagles had in the past was how were they defending the tight end? Now, if everyone is fully healthy and all things are equal, the Eagles are equipped to deal with the tight end purely because of the fact that between Maddox and CJ Gardner-Johnson and Kazir White and TJ Edwards and all of those players together, Marcus Epps, they have the collective to be able to slow down what Kittle can do. But we don't know yet if Avonte Maddox is going to play in this game. That has not been established. It has not been established if this guy, Avonte Maddox, who arguably is one of the most important players on this defense, as we have seen this year in the little bit of time he has missed, When he was out, they had trouble. And when it was no C.J. Gardner-Johnson and no Avonte Maddox, there was a huge problem. So is that maybe the Achilles heel? If you got to play Reed Blankenship at safety and CJ continues to play in the slot corner spot because there's no Maddox, how do the 49ers implement Kittle? Because they line him up. One of the things with the 49ers that makes them so effective and makes them such a good football team is the way that they set up and align and basically manipulate the defense. The 49ers are excellent at taking a defense and having them pay attention to the wrong thing and look the wrong way. It's a big part of the conversation because in the Eagles' losses this year, in the games where the defense did not look so good, one of the common factors is that they were easily manipulated. The Lions game in week 1, the Washington Monday night game when they lost, the Cowboys game on Christmas Eve. All three of those games, when they allowed a ton of yards and a ton of big plays in those games, all three of them have something in common. The defense was manipulated, and it was easily manipulated at times. It was actually embarrassing to watch at times. There was so much motion and so much, of the guys running the wrong direction. And now you bring in a guy who is one of the best in the NFL at showing disguise and manipulating and putting guys in different positions. I mean, there are games where we have seen this season George Kittle, Deebo Samuel lined up in the backfield, bracketing the quarterback, Christian McCaffrey at the receiver position in the slot next to Brandon Ayuk. That is a literal formation the 49ers have run this year. This is not the Giants' offense with their limitations. This is a elite level of personnel. Now, I understand a lot of people say, well, the quarterback is a rookie, he's a 7th-round pick. We have the better quarterback. But it doesn't matter if you're the better quarterback. In my eyes, Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank CL. It doesn't matter if you have the better quarterback if your defense doesn't get the job done right. Your defense has to hold up and do their part of the bargain. Look, Jonathan Gannon is interviewing for head coaching jobs. It behooves him to do the best job possible and have the Eagles defense ready for this game. And for the most part this year, outside of really the 3 games that I just mentioned, the Eagles defense has actually done well. 3 out of 17 games, they didn't look so hot. But the rest of the season, this was the team that led the NFL in sacks. This was one of the best statistical defenses in the entire NFL. So Gannon has done something right this year. But he hasn't seen the 49ers yet. And I'm very curious to follow up what we just heard less than an hour ago on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN. I'm curious to see, is George Kittle the key to this game? Because the Eagles are top 5 in every single pertinent category on defense. The only category that they are a little wishy-washy on is their rush defense. Their pass defense is top 5. Sacks, passing yards allowed, interceptions, total yards allowed. They're top 5. They're top 10 in points against. They're top 10 in other categories as well. Where they struggled is the run game. So if you're the 49ers, it's going to be interesting to see the chess match here. Because on one hand, we would anticipate the 49ers want to run the ball down the Eagles' throat, that they don't want to let Brock Purdy have to win them the game. They're going to ask Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, Deebo Samuel to carry the load. But when they do pass the ball, how do they manipulate the Eagles' defense? And is George Kittle really the key? Because if he is, the Eagles, like I said this year, have not faced an elite tight end. The best tight ends they've seen all year are Dalton Schultz, not top 5, Pat Freiermuth, not top 5. Zach Ertz, before he was injured, he was having a really good season. Evan Ingram with the Jags in a downpour. It's TJ Hawkinson week 1 against the Lions. That's it. And if you were to tell me that Hawkinson and Zach Ertz are the best that they have seen this season, well, here are the numbers to play out what exactly happened in those games. Zach Ertz had 6 catches for 48 yards, no touchdowns. TJ Hawkinson had 4 catches for 38 yards and no touchdowns. But despite those numbers, the Lions, even though that their tight end didn't have a huge game, the Lions themselves still had a big game offensively. The Lions had almost 400 total yards in the game. That was at 38-35, nail biter to the end for the Eagles. And in the Cardinals game, even though it was only a 2017 win for the Eagles, their defense still allowed 363 total yards. Remember, I told you guys the stat before. This season, 10 games, the Eagles allowed less than 310 total yards. They were 10-0 in those games. In the rest of the games where they allowed 310 yards or more, they were 4-3. So that says to me that when I look at the Eagles, it'll be interesting to see the Jonathan Gannon versus Kyle Shanahan chess match. We'll get to your text messages a little bit later in this hour. 609-403-0973 is the text board. You also can DM the show through 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. And speaking of the Eagles, make sure that you come hang out with me in the 97.3 ESPN team at Casey Ray's Sports Bar and Pub in Violin, New Jersey. This Sunday, we'll have a tailgate party from 12 to 2 p.m. We'll have prize giveaways, drink specials, all game long, courtesy of Jameson Irish Whiskey and Absolute Vodka. So make sure you join me in the 97.3 ESPN team this Sunday at Casey Ray's Sports Bar and Pub on Landis Avenue in Vineland from 12 to 2 p.m. So come out and cheer on the Birds with us. All right, coming up next, we will talk Eagles with Bo Wulf from The Athletic. I'm Josh Hennig, and this is Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle.
This is the home for Eagles playoff football. The Eagles host the San Francisco 49ers this Sunday in the NFC Championship game.
The Philadelphia Eagles have reached the NFC Championship game.
Pre-game coverage starts at 2 p.m. with all the play-by-play action starting at 3 p.m. This is where the Philadelphia Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's official Eagles station.
May old car problems be forgot in a brand new SUV.
Stop! You can't start the new year in an old car. Looking for some holiday cash? Then don't miss Matt Platt Nissan's Holiday Vehicle Buyback. It doesn't matter what you drive. AJ, the trademan, wants to buy your vehicle today, regardless of the make, miles, condition, or situation. AJ will buy your ride for cash today. So treat yourself to a brand new Nissan Rogue. 0 down, 0 payments, 0 interest on every new Matt Platt Nissan Rogue.
It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Drive away with peace of mind, because only Matt Platt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave payment return policy. MetLetNissan.com. Re-qualifications exist with approved credit. $2,778 per thousand financed on in-stock 2023 Nissan Rogues. Not all will qualify. Go to MetLetNissan.com for complete details or call 844-917-4758. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 1/31/23. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
Nature Valley has helped restore access to 10,000 miles of national park trails, and we're on our way to restoring even more because every mile is a new memory. Life happens out there. Nature Valley.
Just about everyone's been to Angelo's Fairmount Tavern in Atlantic City. The third-generation Mancuso family invites you to enjoy their old-world ambiance and cherished family recipes. Make a special occasion an extraordinary event in Angelo's banquet room, seating up to 130 people. Angelo's old-world charm and grandfather's secret gravy recipe have made the Fairmount Tavern an Atlantic City landmark since 1935. Visit angelosfairmounttavern.com.
The family's here for you. Angelo's Fairmount Tavern.
When choosing a wireless provider, you're forced to compromise. But what if you didn't have to? What if you could get reliable service without a contract and save money? Introducing Total by Verizon, a new no contract, no credit check carrier for you and your family, with plans starting at just $30 a month on America's most reliable 5G network. Total by Verizon is available at totalbyverizon.com and at retailers nationwide, based on first place rankings and RootMetrics first half 2022 5G assessments of 125 metros. Experiences may vary, not an endorsement.
When you hear the word concussion, most people think about the risks facing professional athletes, but parents of student athletes are just as concerned. The good news is that the Concussion Center at Cape Regional is here to help. Our 7 nationally certified concussion specialists use the latest diagnostic tools, and our customized rehabilitation programs help student athletes get back in the game. To learn more or to schedule an evaluation, call 609-463-CAPE or visit us at caperegional.com. Cape Regional Health System, for a healthier life.
Are you ready?
Every pro is an MVP to us. As a Lowe's MVP's Rewards member, you can earn bonus points when you shop select products and brands. Then redeem them for exciting rewards like tools, sports memorabilia, e-gift cards, and more. Join today to become a member and start earning. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any, subject to program terms while supplies last. Points expired end of calendar year. Visit Lowe's.com/MVP's bonus points for details.
I'm Mike Mackler. At Goldenberg Mackler, we represent you, not the insurance companies. When seriously injured in any type of accident, call us. We'll speak with you for free and fight to get you the money you deserve. When injured, make the right call to Goldenberg Mackler.
For the best lawyer, call Goldenberg Mackler. With 4 convenient locations to better serve you: Atlantic City, Northfield, Rio Grande, and Vineland. Call us at 609-344-7131.
And now another no-brainer money-saving tip from Progressive.
It looks like your luggage is over 50 pounds. Is there anything you can take out?
Oh, yeah. Let me just toss all these $20 bills.
Great. Let me grab you a trash can.
Stop. Instead of throwing money away, move some clothes into a carry-on. And here's a better tip from Progressive on how not to waste money. Don't pay too much for car insurance. Drivers who switch and save could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
Hi, Merrill Reese from Mike's Seafood Run Walk for Autism, Sea Isle City. The Mike's Seafood Run Walk for Autism has been promoting awareness and raising funds for special service schools and families of special needs children. Come join over 5,000 participants in the 5K race and the Family Fun Walk, followed by a huge after party. Join us in huge heated tents where they'll have great food, unbelievable door prizes, and the award ceremony. The party is not just for runners or walkers, it's for the entire family. They'll have clowns, superheroes, and face painters for the kids. For more information or to register, go to polarbearrunwalkforautism.com.
Mike's Seafood Run Walk for Autism is Saturday, February 18th at JFK and the Boardwalk in Sea Isle City. Registration is from 9:30 to 11:30. Run Walk starts at noon.
Any day you can do something for children with disabilities, it's a good day.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Game Night being brought to you by friends over at Jenkins & Sons. One call does it all. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Jenkins Technicians got you covered for new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing and drain cleaning services, gas furnaces, and more. Jenkins has you covered. Give them a call at 609-641-6262 and online at jenkinsandsons.com. Eagles 49ers, of course, you can hear the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. This Sunday afternoon coverage begins at 2 p.m. But before we get there, we'll dig deeper into the Eagles now with Eagles beat reporter for The Athletic, Bo Wulf, joins us now here on 97.3 ESPN. Bo, welcome in. How you doing today?
Doing all right. How are you?
Doing pretty good. So one of the things that you wrote about recently in your article about the Eagles and about their legacy is about Jason Kelce. And some may argue that Jason Kelce is the linchpin of this offense. And I mean, the guy's going to the Hall of Fame one day, but in your eyes, watching this team as closely as you do, Bo, what makes Jason Kelce so important to this team?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a multi-layered question. I think for any team, having a guy like Jason Kelce or Brandon Graham or Fletcher Cox, who has been with the franchise for so long and sort of carries the like the legacy and the like tenets of what the organization wants to do as a leader matters. I also think it matters when a guy like Kelce is willing to sort of hand over the leadership mantle to a guy like Jalen Hurts, who has talked about Jason Kelce being intentional about that, coming to Hurts before last season and saying, "This is your team, you got to take the lead." And then you just talk about the player that he is. I mean, it's he is a unique center. He has the athletic ability to get to the second level. He also has the intelligence to see things pre-snap. He cares about the craft, and he's also, there's probably some luck involved. He's been more healthy than I think he would guess that he would expect. He's got that consecutive game started streak that's been impressive. I'm with you. I think he's a future Hall of Famer. The fourth All-Pro selection this year probably cements that to some degree. But he's as we've written about in the past in The Athletic, he is very much a guy who understands Philadelphia, what sells here, what plays here, what people care about. He's very much, I think, like the poster eagle of this generation.
Your colleague, Kaylin Kaler, wrote about in her article about the QB sneaks about how, people observe that Kelce almost is moving forward while he's snapping the ball. And it's like these little nuances that he does that maybe don't get, talked about or looked at in the same light because there's not like a stat for it, right? Like we have a stat for receptions and touchdowns, these other things, but there's not a stat for like center performances. So it's like, it's the little things of the craft to me, Bo, that has made Kelce go from an overlooked draft pick to being who he is today. Because let's be realistic, when he first came to the Eagles, he was an undersized center and people were wondering, why on earth did you draft this guy?
Sure. And, it was Howard Mudd who brought him in because he saw a little bit of Jeff Saturday in him. And, we wrote a story over the summer, Zach Berman and I, talking to all of the offensive line teammates of Jason Kelce's over the years. And one of them told the story of, he came in from Indianapolis. This is Kyle Devan, and he had played with Jeff Saturday and played under Howard Mudd. And he was claimed off waivers, expected to start right away because Danny Watkins wasn't ready. And the first day he got there, Howard Mudd sat him down and was like, I think I found the next Jeff Saturday. And Kyle Devan was like, what are you talking about, Howard? Like, that there's only one Jeff Saturday. Don't be insane. Like, I know that you get excited, but calm down. And then one game in after playing with him, he was like, oh my God, he's right. This is nuts. And he's been unbelievable since he got here, and he's been better than that 6th round draft pedigree, obviously. But there have also been times, Kelce has talked about this, where he thought that he was headed out of town. I think in 15 or 16, he thought that was going to be his last year with the Eagles. Jeff Stoutland sort of stood on the table to keep him around. And since then, he's been even better as he's gotten older. He's absolutely an all-time Eagle.
What is the legacy do you think is going to be for this era? Because, if you were to ask me, where the Mason-Dixon line is, right? The idea that it's when Howie Roseman came out of the broom closet, as Jason Kelce would say, and came back, it's that 2016 to now What is going to be, in your mind, the legacy of this team, even if they don't go to the Super Bowl this season?
Well, I think it depends on what happens this season, don't you? I mean, I think if you want to just talk about Howie Roseman's reputation, certainly the fact that he was able to turn this era around so quickly, post Carson Wentz, post Doug Peterson, turn this roster over. It's been unbelievably impressive. And even with that, there's been some luck involved. Like, you look at what the Eagles wanted to do last offseason. You know, they were interested in Russell Wilson. They were interested in Deshaun Watson. They were trying to sign Allen Robinson. There's a theoretical, like, very realistic path where instead of having Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, you have Russell Wilson and Allen Robinson on the Eagles this season. And obviously, I would expect that would not have turned out so well. So there's some luck involved. There's also Howie Roseman staying incredibly flexible. There's a reason that he was the guy who was able to trade for A.J. Brown. He had the cap space. He values more than anything staying involved in every conversation around the league. Like, that's what keeps him up at night, is like the possibility that there's something out there who's available that he doesn't know about. So you give him tremendous credit for that, but it's like anything else. Like, you sort of make your own luck to some degree. But if we're just talking Howie, I think it's been a really impressive turnaround given where this roster was 2 years ago. If you look at the franchise as a whole, I mean, I think it's fair to say that just like the post 2000, like this century, the Eagles have been as consistently good as really any team other than the Patriots.
Talking with Bo Wulf from The Athletic. You can follow him on Twitter at Bo_Wulf, joining us here to talk Eagles ahead of their matchup with the 49ers this Sunday. You hear the game on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 2 p.m. Bo, looking ahead to the 49ers game, was there something that you saw in the Eagles' dominant win over the Giants that they can parlay into the 49ers game this Sunday?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the number one thing that you wanted to see was just that Jalen Hurts was going to be willing to run the ball and that they were going to be willing to incorporate that portion of the offense. If you just look at it like straight tail of the tape wise, you've got the number one rushing offense in the league against the number one rushing defense in the league. But the Niners have not really played a quarterback like Jalen Hurts. There are only so few quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts, but they haven't played an offense this good, obviously. And the Eagles have taken it upon themselves in the past when they go up against really good run defenses to prove that they can run on them, as we saw over this against the Saints each of the past, well, I guess the previous 2 years, not last year, not this year. But I sort of think that what we're going to see in this game is more focus on the guys on the outside, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. I think that's where this Niners defense is vulnerable, which is not what we saw last week. But one thing that I think that we might see is, one of the things the Eagles offense is so good at is playing against personnel type. They're the best running team in the league when they have 3 receivers on the field, and they're the best passing team in the league when they're in 12 personnel with 2 tight ends on the field. And the Niners defense has been just okay in defending the pass against 12 personnel. So I think we might see some like a good deal of 12 personnel in this game against the Niners, but throwing from that, keeping Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown on the outside and having probably single coverage.
Is there a matchup with the 49ers defense that concerns you more than another? Like how are you concerned about Lane Johnson going against their pass rush? Are you concerned about their linebackers? Like, what is it about the 49ers defense that, for lack of a better term, would keep like a coordinator up at night?
I think it's Bosa. He's been the best pass rusher in the league this year by a pretty wide margin. He hits the quarterback at like a rate of something crazy, like 10.5% of his pass rush snaps. He hits the quarterback, and the next best guy in the league was all the way down at 7%. He's been a little bit fading lately, but him going up against Lane Johnson, who's playing through what he's playing through, and Jordan Mailata, who's been good, but not quite as good as maybe the Eagles might have expected this season. I sort of have faith in Mailata to like embrace this challenge and do fine against Bosa, but he's the one guy who I would imagine if you're Nick Sirianni, and he's talked about this before, like the number one thing he thinks about going into a game is who can wreck this game and who can wreck it quickest. And the answer in this game is absolutely Nick Bosa.
On the flip side, what are your thoughts on the Eagles defense versus the 49ers offense? I was saying before you came on, George Kittle is probably the best tight end in the NFL, at least in my opinion. And no offense to the Eagles, not their fault, but they're scheduled. They didn't face arguably this caliber of tight end. Like the best tight end they faced all year was Zach Ertz and TJ Hawkinson, and that was months ago.
Yeah, I think that's right. If you look at the like splits in terms of DVOA on Football Outsiders by position type, the Eagles did a good job against tight ends. They were 6th in the league, but you're right. They did not really play anybody of Kittle's caliber. And there really aren't that many elite tight ends in the league right now. It seems like it's like Kelsey, Kittle, and I would say Goddard is probably number 3. So they haven't played a ton of guys like that. But I also think that there's something to like, if George Kittle's going to beat you down the middle of the field, that's not the worst thing. I think I would be a little bit more worried about like Deebo Samuel breaking out a 60-yard touchdown or the same thing for Brandon Ayuk. If it's going to be Kittle for 8 yards, Kittle for 12 yards, Kittle for 8 yards, Kittle for 18 yards, I think the Eagles might live with that to some degree. I think they're going to be a little bit more worried about stopping the run than they are Kittle over the middle.
One of the stats that stands out to me, Bo, and I know stats are obviously can be spliced 20 ways from Sunday, but in the 10 games, the Eagles allowed less than 310 yards. They were undefeated. But when they allowed more than 310 total yards, they were 4-3. And so there's obviously a line of demarcation. So do you believe that the Eagles defense can limit the 49ers to that type of output, or are we expecting to see a potentially high-scoring game on Sunday?
Well, first of all, I would just throw out the 2 Gardner Minshew games. It's just a totally different dynamic. It's not this Eagles team, really. It's not what we're going to see on Sunday, obviously. But in terms of like the style of the game, I think I would expect that the Niners are going to try to keep this as few possessions as possible. Try to control the clock with running the ball against what they might view as a down Eagles run defense. I think we can sort of debate how good they are since Linval Joseph got here. But I think a shootout favors the Eagles well. I think if you're expecting, Brock Purdy to hang back and throw the ball 30 times, you're feeling pretty good if you're the Eagles. I think you might think that you can turn him over. I think so. The game flow of how things go on Sunday, I think, is going to be really interesting. If the Eagles get up early, you would feel really good if you're the Eagles. If the Niners get up early, then all of a sudden you're going to be clock watching and worried that you might sort of run out of time. So. I think that's one of the interesting things to watch.
Another interesting thing I'm curious about is, and I was talking with Rob Motti from the Associated Press about this yesterday, Bo, is that this whole dynamic of Gannon versus Kyle Shanahan. I mean, Kyle Shanahan is considered one of the best play callers in the league, right? He's considered one of the top coaches. And Gannon, I mean, it feels like he's got 20 million head coaching interviews in the last 2 years. So, how much of this game on Sunday is not just, Gannon versus Shanahan, but Gannon also auditioning for these jobs in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's like really what's on his mind for the game, or like he's already out there. He's already interviewed. He's already got this team to the championship game and had a good performance against the Giants. I don't necessarily think that like he needs extra motivation or the players are playing in any way to make him look good. So I think that might be a little bit overstated.
So then what are your thoughts then on Shanahan versus Gannon?
Yeah, it's a big matchup. I think it's funny that like the 6th best offense in the league against the 6th best defense in the league feels like the undercard, because the other side of the matchup is so heavy, like with like maybe number 2 versus number 1. But I think what's going to be interesting to see is how Jonathan Gannon matches, especially when the Niners are in that 21 personnel, when they have Kyle Juszczyk on the field as the fullback. They've got McCaffrey or Elijah Mitchell in the backfield. They've got Kittle out there, and then they've got Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, because the Eagles have not seen 21 personnel much this season at all. They've seen the 3rd fewest snaps of that of any team in the league, and I don't know that we know exactly how they're going to match that. And I think it does in some little way decrease the importance of Darius Slay and James Bradbury, which is like one of the Eagles' defensive superpowers, right? I think they're going to target the middle of the field against this Eagles defense, and it's going to put guys like TJ Edwards and Kaiser White if he's on the field, or probably more likely, Reed Blankenship if he's on the field. Those guys are going to have to really step up. And so all of the pre-snap motion that Kyle Shanahan does, which they do as much as anybody in the league, means that the defense has to sort of rely more on their like base stuff, because you can't just over communicate. It's impossible to communicate everything that's going on. So they have to sort of rely on knowing what their rules are in their base coverages and really get it down pat. And that's what this game is going to be all about on that side of the ball.
Well, before I let you go, Bo Wulf from The Athletic joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Talk to me about the Jalen Hurts evolution. The whole, I mean, everyone who didn't like the Eagles or doubted the Eagles, it was all because of Jalen, right? The whole thing was, can the quarterback step up? Well, he stepped up big time this year. He's an MVP candidate. He's got the team right there on the edge of going to another Super Bowl, their third one in the last 22 years. What are your thoughts in retrospect now, looking at where Jalen Hurts was and where he is today?
Yeah, I think like the entire Jalen Hurts experience has been really interesting and had to make me sort of change the way I think about some things. I think he single-handedly has made me care more about like intangibles, especially at the quarterback position. He's gotten so much better in ways that I wasn't sure that guys could get better. And it's also like the importance of patience. Like we talked about, the Eagles were probably willing to replace him with Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson this offseason. They didn't see this jump coming. And boy, would that have been a disaster, seeing how things have turned out, right? I think, my colleague Zach Berman has a story up on The Athletic right now, which I think is helpful context, that Jalen Hurts has been unbelievable with his legs. He changes what the offense can do from a running standpoint. He changes the math. He's been really good with his arm this year, especially down the field. That stuff has grown. But we probably don't give him enough credit for what he's brought to the table just as a processor with his mind. He calls it being a triple threat. He does so much pre-snap. He reads things so quickly in the running read game that we probably don't give him enough credit for. And I also think that like this team as a whole has sort of taken on his personality. I think there's a force of personality that he has that really does matter, and it's hard to quantify. But I think if you talk to guys in the locker room, they would say that like they are following his lead to a pretty significant extent.
He is Bo Wulf. Make sure you check out his coverage of the Eagles in The Athletic. Him, Zach Berman, both do a great job of covering the Eagles all season long, and they will be getting you ready for Eagles 49ers this Sunday kickoff after 3 p.m. Follow him on Twitter at Bo_Wulf. Bo, appreciate you jumping on today, and enjoy game day this Sunday.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. We'll check in on the text board on the other side, 609-403-0973. You also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. And don't forget, tonight coming up at 7 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN, Flyers back on the ice to take on the Kings.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tonight on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
To the right circle, he scores! On the power play,
It's Flyers Kings tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
Listen up, South Jersey football fans. Are you interested in solar? Want a free roof? EMT Solar and Roofing has you covered. Visit ESPNsolar.com to see if your home qualifies for a free roof with solar installation. Don't wait, act now. Start saving thousands and virtually extinguish your electric bill. ESPNsolar.com is the place to go for your roofing or solar needs. No commitments, no hidden fees. Go to ESPNsolar.com to see if you qualify.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Hey, Pete, how's business? It's great. Foot traffic's still way down, but more people are finding me online. Nice. How'd you pull that off? Well, the first thing I did was go to mylocalcustomers.com to see exactly how many searches there were for businesses like mine. So I guess there were a lot? Yeah, there were hundreds of local searches every month. So after I saw that, they helped me position my business online to get in front of those customers. That's awesome. I wonder how many people are searching for my services around here. Well, it's quick and easy to get the answer. Plus, it's free. Just go to mylocalcustomers.com to find out. If there are a lot of searches, you should definitely get in front of them. If there aren't, no harm, no foul.
Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free local customer analysis that will show you how many customers are searching online for your type of business. It's quick, easy, and free. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
And now another no-brainer money-saving tip from Progressive.
It looks like your luggage is over 50 pounds. Is there anything you can take out?
Oh, yeah. Let me just toss all these $20 bills.
Great. Let me grab you a trash can.
Stop. Instead of throwing money away, move some clothes into a carry-on. And here's a better tip from Progressive on how not to waste money. Don't pay too much for car insurance. Drivers who switch and save could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
At Ocean First Bank, our first thought is you. We put you first in all we do. Community banking for a century. We treat you like your family. Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
Ring in the new year with a CD rate that, well, rates. For a limited time, lock in a 13-month term for 4.25% APY with as little as $10,000. Don't delay. Visit oceanfirst.com for complete details.
Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
Certain rules and restrictions apply. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
By now, you know that sound. It's the sound of the Home Depot. But what about that sound? You're listening to a set of GE appliances, complete with all you need to keep food fresh, dishes clean, and everything else stress-free. Making this the sound of savings on top brand appliances. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Final days to get up to 25% off select GE appliances. Ends January 25th. Offer valid January 5th through January 25th, 2023. U.S. only. See store or online for details.
With GMF financing, qualified buyers excludes Corvette.
It's back! By popular demand, Bennett Chevrolet has brought back GM supplier employee pricing for everyone. That's right. Get to Bennett now. Pick out your new Chevy, and you'll pay what our supplier employees pay, and not 1 penny more. This is truly amazing, because other dealers are still charging MSRP or more. But Bennett isn't like most dealers. We've got GM supplier employee pricing for everyone on your new Chevy. Think about how much you'll save with Bennett when you pay GM supplier employee pricing compared to the other dealers charging MSRP and above. Plus, with rates as low as 2.99%, you'll save even more. And we're still paying record prices for trades towards any pre-owned in stock. Right now, get a minimum $7,000, even if your trade is total junk. Yes, at least $7,000. Imagine how much we'll pay for a trade that actually runs. And wait till you deal with our non-commissioned sales team. They're paid based on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank Seattle. Don't forget, I want to remind you again today, this Sunday, I will be with the 97.3 ESPN team over at Casey Ray Sports Bar and Pub in Vineland, Sunday, 12 to 2 p.m. for the Ultimate Eagles Tailgate Party. We'll have prize giveaways. Of course, you got to check out the drink specials all game long, courtesy of Jameson Irish Whiskey and Absolute Vodka. So join me and the 97.3 ESPN team this Sunday at Casey Ray's Sports Bar and Pub on Landis Avenue. Yes, the Landis Avenue in Violence, actually behind the Landis Theater. So you just go to Landis Theater, turn down the street, boom, you're right there at Casey Ray's Sports Bar and Pub. Join us from 12 to 2 and come out and cheer on the Birds to victory. Over on the text board at 609-403-0973, an anonymous texter chimed in. Probably they're anonymous because of the fact that what they're saying is in and of itself nitpicking, but they're accusing me of cherry picking stats. They say, talk about cherry picking stats. He actually leaves a cherry emoji in there for effect. Ha ha ha. 310 yards, 4 and 3. 2 of those losses came with Minshew, which I wouldn't even count. So it's actually 4 and 1 and 13 and 0. First of all, that's circular reasoning. All right, Mr. Anonymous Texter. I don't work in circular reasoning. Circular reasoning works great if you want to tune into a political talk show and explain why Republicans or Democrats are right and wrong. Circular reasoning is not going to work on this show, okay? It's not cherry-picking stats. It's a line of demarcation. Now, maybe for you, you don't understand that because you don't like the point I'm making. Personally, I don't care that Gardner Minshew was the starter or not, all right? The Eagles could have and should have won the Cowboys game on Christmas Eve. If they didn't have all those turnovers and Miles Sanders doesn't fumble the ball and Minshew doesn't throw those interceptions, they could have won the game. They allowed the Cowboys to stay in that game and win the game with those turnovers. Plus, on top of that, as soon as Avonte Maddox went out of the game, Josiah Scott got basically whipped by the Cowboys offense. He was attacked again and again and again, and Gannon and the Eagles players didn't adjust. Like I said earlier in the show, it's a line of demarcation. It's the understanding that when the Eagles defense does their job, executes the game plan, they play a certain style of football. When they do that, they are winning games. They're 10-0. So it's not a literal 310 yards, even though, yes, in the stat book, it is 310 yards is the line of demarcation. The reality is that they could have and should have won the Cowboys game. Now, in the Saints game, it was a little bit different because the defense didn't lose them that game. The offense did. So if you want to point to Minshew in that game, sure, I'll give that to you. But I blame that game more on Shane Steichen, the coordinator. If you are the play caller, you have to play to the strengths of your players. You cannot ask Minshew to do the same thing as Jalen Hurts. You just cannot do it. You have to call a game that is going to win him. So if you want to say, hey, that one game, it's odd, it's weird, throw it in the trash, fine. I'll give you that. But the Washington game still happened. You still had 4 turnovers in that game. In the Washington game, your defense got kicked in the teeth and then kicked in the face on the ground, in the gut, in the groin, again and again, and they didn't make adjustments until it was too late. Gannon's greatest weakness as a coordinator, and Nick Sirianni himself has said this. This is not just me saying it. This is not just a person listening on 97.3 ESPN FM in their car or on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Wherever you're listening to the show, we thank you for listening. All of us can see sitting at the local establishment, sitting at the bar, sitting at home, hanging out with your friends, wherever you're watching the game, we all see the same thing. When the Eagles defense doesn't play to their assignments, does not execute what they're supposed to do, they get wrecked. And Nick Sirianni has said it. There have been times this year that this defense has not made the proper adjustments in time. Sirianni has said it multiple times this year after games. We took too long to make adjustments. So it's not just me saying it. It's not just the random person sitting at the bar saying it. It's the head coach saying it. Jonathan Gannon has an adjustment problem in specifically 7 games this year. He comes out with one defense, gets run over, has to make adjustments, and then they play better. The problem is, in a game like Washington and in a game like Dallas on Christmas Eve and Monday Night Football, in those losses, it took you too long to make the adjustments. Now, the flip side of the adjustment did come in the Saints game. They never made the proper adjustments. And if Minshew doesn't throw that interception with his back against the end zone, maybe the Eagles still have a chance to win that game. But the reality is that there is a line of demarcation for this team when it comes to winning and losing. It is the idea that they are a team that when they execute, they are winning. When they don't execute, they don't win. I have heard Ron Jaworski say this. I have heard Jeff Mosher on Football at 4 say this. This is an execution style play calling this team does. They call games predicated on execution. They do not win games predicated on just talent alone. Dan EHC chimes in at 609-403-0973, says, did the Eagles prove they have another gear when the moment mattered more? I believe they're in playoff mode. You know, Dan EHC, I think what the Eagles have proven this year is they have overcome adversity. I think that's the bigger point. I don't know if it's a specific moment that they have overcome. I don't know if it's necessarily a playoff mode. I think it's this team is a team that has overcome injuries. They have overcome bizarre situations. They have overcome in-game situations, right? You know, the Lions game was a real wake-up call for this team. I think that the Washington game was a real wake-up call for this team. There have been times this year that people have tried to write this team off. They've tried to explain the schedule is poor. They've tried to explain that Jalen Hurts is not really as good as he says he is. They try to say that the coaching staff isn't good. Whatever it is, the truth is, this is a really good football team. And I think that is, to me at least, what they have proven. I don't know if they need another gear. I think they need to execute. Tom in Margate says, hey, Josh, I think anyone who says you're a cherry picker is a goober. That's from Tom in Margate. Oh, my goodness. Well, Tom, I appreciate you having my back there. It's good stuff. By the way, shout out to Jeff in Ocean City. He will be at the Link this Sunday. Jeff, have a good time at the Link. The Link might be the key to this game. We heard Jeff Rob Motti say last night that the Link might be what neutralizes the 49ers because they have not played in this kind of environment with this quarterback. So does Brock Purdy get exposed this Sunday? It might be one of the keys to the game is the Eagles fans at the Link. Thanks again to Bo Wulf from The Athletic joining the show. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Flyers hockey next on 97.3 ESPN.
It's Sixers basketball tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Here's George for three. Shot near. It's good. George the Yank puts in a timely three, and the 76ers go up 4.
It's Sixers Nets tomorrow. Coverage begins at 7:30. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey. 97.3 ESPN.